Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos, sensitive over being called fat. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos found love with Chop Chapel during her season of the show. The two became engaged on the season finale. Since then, they have shared things about their life with their fans and how their engagement is going. In their latest post, the couple shared a video about how Joan became sensitive over being called fat. What happened? Keep reading to get all the details. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos reacts to being called fat. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos and Chop Chapel went to Instagram to share a video with fans. In the video, Chop told Joan they had something to talk about. Chop goes on to say that he was at the gym and he was asking his buddies for some advice. He continued to say that Joan is gorgeous, but recently she's been working out more, and he's noticed some changes. Chop wants to compliment her, but he's not sure how without offending her. So he asked his friends how to go about it. One of his friends said he should tell her she's gorgeous, and he knows she's been working out and now she looks even better. In the video, Joan responded to him, asking him if he's saying she looks fat. Chop said, No, I want to encourage you. She continued to talk to him, noting that, yeah, she had been working out. But did he think she looked fat before? He said no, he's never said that, while Joan said he was such a jerk. Were they being serious? At this point, Chop said you can't win. Joan began to smile in fans, then knew that while Joan appeared to be oversensitive, thinking Chop said she's fat, they were just showing fans what can actually happen in conversations. He said, you try to compliment a woman, and they just read so much into it. She looks great, and I appreciate her working out. That's the rabbit hole where every man in the free world. Joan kissed him on the cheek and said he was such a sweetheart. Then said, he thought I was fat. Chop said, oh my gosh, she looks great. They were laughing and then waved bye to everyone. Their caption said, compliment at your own risk. #Kabelschimmer, #Engagedlife, #The Golden Bachelorette. Joan and Chop continue to fall more and more in love. They spend tons of time together and appear to enjoy every minute of it. Fans can't wait to see these two make it down the aisle. In a recent interview, Joan admits that she knew fairly early on that Chop was the man for her. When his mother passed away during filming, she encouraged him to go home and take care of things. However, she admitted that if he had not returned, she doesn't think she could have finished the show. She would have always wondered what could have been. Joan Vassos had always been a picture of quiet elegance. When she stepped onto the set of The Golden Bachelorette, she did so with grace, compassion, and a radiant charm that instantly won over viewers. Widowed, resilient, and ready to love again in her 60s, Joan embodied the hope of second chances. But as the cameras rolled and the limelight grew brighter, so did the scrutiny, and not all of it was kind. It started with a single online comment, buried among hundreds of adoring messages praising her for her vulnerability and authenticity. One comment stood out like a bruise. She's pretty, but she's getting fat. Joan didn't want to let it bother her. She had come to this experience with her heart wide open. She had survived tragedy. She had raised 4 children. She had walked through the fire of grief and come out standing. A throwaway insult from a stranger shouldn't have been able to penetrate that kind of strength. But it did. During a quiet moment between filming, Joan sat down with her producer, tears pooling in her eyes. I thought I was doing this for all the right reasons, she said, her voice trembling. To show women that we're still beautiful and worthy of love at any age. But then someone calls me fat, and I feel 16 again. Back in high school, what made it harder was the way the comments seemed to stick. Despite reassurances from fellow cast members and fans, The word haunted her like an echo in an empty room. In private confessionals, Joan admitted that she'd always struggled with body image. After having children, after the loss of her husband, after menopause, her body had changed. She worked out, she walked. She did Pilates and watched her nutrition. But she no longer wanted to chase the impossible. She wanted to feel good, not starve herself into someone else's fantasy. Still, that one word, fat, felt like a punch. The producers asked Joan if she wanted to address it on camera. At first, she hesitated. But after a sleepless night, she woke up with clarity. If she couldn't be honest now, then when? In a deeply emotional rose ceremony episode, the mood shifted as Joan took center stage, not to give out a rose, but to share a part of her truth. "I know this is an unusual moment," she began, looking directly at the camera. "But I want to say something, not just to the women who are watching the show, but to the little girl inside me who still sometimes feels not good enough." The room fell silent. I saw a comment that called me fat. And maybe to some people, that's a joke. Maybe it's just something to scroll past. But words matter. And when you're a woman who's lived life, raised children, lost a husband, and is finally brave enough to love again on national TV, the last thing you want to be reduced to is a number on a scale. Several of the men stood in quiet support behind her. One contestant, Michael, stepped forward, visibly moved. "Joan," he said, "you're the most radiant woman I've ever met. Not because of your size or your looks, but because of your heart. Shame on anyone who tries to diminish that." Tears spilled down Joan's cheeks, and she nodded, not in defeat, but in power. "I'm proud of my body. It carried my children. It hugged my late husband every morning. It survived breast cancer. And it still wakes up every day, ready to love. That's not fat. That's strength." The moment went viral. Social media exploded with messages of love and solidarity. Women from all walks of life shared their own stories of being body shamed, of hiding their curves, of learning to love themselves after decades of being told not to. #JoanIsGolden began trending. Even other Bachelor Nation alums weighed in. Susan Knowles, Joan's friend and fellow Golden Bachelor contestant, tweeted, "Joan Vassos just did more for women's self-esteem in 5 minutes than an entire decade of fashion magazines." Icon. Producers leaned into the newfound wave of support. In the next episode, Joan led a group date centered around self-love. Instead of a typical obstacle course or talent show, contestants were asked to write letters to their younger selves, letters filled with kindness and forgiveness. Joan's letter was raw and beautiful. To the girl who pinched her waist and cried in dressing rooms, "I'm sorry no one told you that you were already enough." To the young woman who covered up at the beach and compared herself to airbrushed lies, "You were never meant to disappear." And to the woman I am now, "I see you. I honor you. And I promise never to hide you again." The contestants, many of them fathers and grandfathers, were shaken. They too began sharing stories of their wives' struggles, their daughters' insecurities, and their own evolving views of beauty.